I just make another movie. Just make another movie and let everybody tell their narratives about everything else, You just concentrate on the character and the story. That's my job. That's all my job is. Everything else is for context and time to do. I'm pretty unconscious about the influences on a particular movie, but I will say that Blue Velvet and Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, they both had influences on the movie. Tonally, that dark humor, that dark, weird humor that they have. More books than anything. Slaughterhouse-Five, believe it or not. I don't know if you've read that book. Kind of how to do, oddity, how to do someone who's mentally just, slightly clicked off and how that keeps on seeping out into the movie. Well, I make a distinction between found footage, which is inelegant, and a documentary, which is elegant. And so most of the movie, 90% of the movie, is a documentary where she's showing her grandparents' farm, her grandparents, watching them cook, showing the beauty of the life that they live and her family. She's trying to make a loving family there. For me, it's just the same thing I always do for all my movies. I think of every shot, analyze every shot, why it's enhancing the character. It's all very similar. Now this one I couldn't use dollies and I couldn't use steady cams, things like that, because she doesn't have access to that. So those are the only restrictions, but I didn't feel that at all. It's supposed to be a very beautiful and elegant version of what she's capable of, a 16-year-old is capable of. Musically, I'd always dreamed of doing a non-score movie. Some of my favorite movies have no score in it. The Birds has no score in it. The Exorcist has 45 seconds of music in it. So these are some of my favorite movies of all time. And there's a great dignity and elegance that comes from not having music. So, silence and sound effects, that has great kind of gravitas to it. Whereas when you put in an orchestra, it does so much work for you that you can be just a hair more passive. Jason is, a real producer. I don't know how many real producers are left in Hollywood. And by that I mean he has a point of view. He doesn't want to be a director. That's the first thing he says. I don't want to be a director. Whereas everybody wants to be a director, right? They're all frustrated directors. He doesn't want to be that. He wants to support the filmmaker. And that's a very rare thing. He was a little ahead of the curve with everybody in Hollywood and saying, we can do lower budget movies and all make, profit from it. And there's a real benefit to doing that. So he's championed a ton of movies that nobody believed in, no studios believed in, and they all did well, and audiences got to see different types of movies, whether it's sinister or paranormal or Whiplash. He's showing you things that the studio system wouldn't have agreed to do. Well, when I was editing, I did so many different cuts of it because it's such a tricky balance to get that horror and comedy just right. And really the first cut was actually an arty movie. It was really arty. It was a half an hour longer than the one that's out in the world now. And then I went one more comedic and one more horror, and then you find what the movie is. You have to listen to the movie to find what it wants, not what you want, but what it wants. And eventually I went through the main character, and the main character was making a beautiful movie that turned into a mystery. So I just kept cutting along those lines, and whatever humor stuck to that, whatever scares stuck to that, it's great. I probably would have done. I would have directed Life of Pi. I was gonna direct Life of Pi. I would do that, and then there's a script that I wrote called Labor of Love. When I was a kid, I wrote it, and I was gonna do that a while ago, maybe like 10 years ago, and I wish I had done that at that time. So those are the two I probably would have done.